to, this is the final place for Marie LaVeau. There's a couple of people here that tried to get in, but you can't. And I'll let you know why. I have no intentions nor desire to go in, but this is where Marie LaVeau resides. Well, hello. Come on in. You're just in time to help me scratch these CLUE tickets. I have 5 of them. But tonight I'm not only scratching tickets, I'm telling a story. And the story is about a New Orleans fixture, Marie LaVeau, the Queen of Voodoo. And that's why I got these tickets, because I had to do a lot of sleuthing. It took a lot of clues and putting together stuff, because a lot of her story is rumor and speculation. But let's just get started. Marie was born in 1801. She died in 1881. They're still talking about her to this day. There's been books written about her, songs written about her, movies, and I just had to ask myself, who will talk about me 200 years from now? And most importantly, who, guys, will talk about you over 200 years from now? Her mother was of French descent. Her father was an African. And it said that he was a wealthy, oh Marie, look at what's happening here. We just got a symbol, and it looks like a rope. And it will double whatever is under here. Thank you, Marie. We must be doing something right, guys. Marie just gave us a win. But back to her parents. Her grandmother purchased her way to freedom and was able to purchase a cottage on St. Anne Street in the French Quarter. That is where Marie grew up. We'll talk more about that cottage later. Okay? Marie LaVeau was a strikingly beautiful, free woman of color. She had eyes that could penetrate all through you, is what they're said. She was said to walk the streets of New Orleans with authority, and she often had her pet snake wrapped around her neck. That's what they say, guys. She's said to be a hairdresser, although some writings said that that was not true. But she was a beautician to the upper class of New Orleans, the very, very powerful and wealthy women. She listened to their business as they talked about themselves, their friends, their neighbors, and Marie took it all in, and she turned around. We'll save this ticket for later. She turned around and would use that info to gain power. That is what she did. Now, It said that the police were afraid of her. Judges consulted with her. Politicians were her friends. She was so good at curing the sick with her potions that doctors sent their sickest patients to her to be cured. Marie went to Mass every day, which is where she became friends with the local priests. Together, they worked to help their community. She and the priest worked hand in hand. Now, this is a mixture of voodoo and Christianity. That was definitely unheard of, which is why some people thought of her as a saint, and sometimes she was thought of as a devil. She got married in 1819, August the 4th, to Jacques Carris at the St. Louis Cathedral, the famous St. Louis Cathedral. If you know anything about New Orleans, you should know about the St. Louis Cathedral. Their marriage must not have lasted long because records of him just stopped. So he might have perished early on in the marriage. There were no more records other than their wedding. She also had children, but they must have perished early in life. Also, there were records of birth and some baptisms. She started her life over in a relationship with a white gentleman named, last name, LAVEAU. This was in 1826. They had several children, but again, they must have perished early. People didn't live long in those days because the records did not show that they were around. She did have a daughter, though, her oldest daughter, who took on the reins as Voodoo Queen from Marie Laveau. Yes, her daughter also became a famous Voodoo Queen. Marie was a female activist. She helped Native American women. She worked with orphan kids. She would visit prisons and offer prisoners encouragement. She also would post bond for people who were wrongfully charged. Criminals loved her. When she died, but remember, she did all of this along with the Catholic priests in the community. When she died, her funeral was well attended. Many people attended, including her wealthy patrons. Even the most wealthy and highly appointed. We got a win, guys. We got a win. Thank you, Marie. Were there for her funeral. This is what the community thought about her and all of the saintly things that she did. Now, I'm going to tell you about the rituals of her grave. It is said and written that Her grave is the most visited grave in the world. Now, I don't know if I believe that, but it is what I read. I read that her grave was the most visited. This is the ritual to visit Marie. You went to her tomb, and it's a tomb, it's not a grave, because people here are buried above the ground because we are below sea level. So most people are buried in tombs above the ground. So if you go to visit her, you have to walk up to her tomb backwards. When you get to her tomb, you place 3 X's on her tomb. And then you ask for whatever it is you want Marie to do for you. After you put in your request, you leave her gifts. The gifts that people leave are in the form of money, food, and hair trinkets, because remember, she was a beautician. So they would leave ribbons and barrettes, things like that. After you leave your offerings, you had to walk away from her tomb backwards. You walked off backwards. Now, when Marie granted your wish, you had to go back and leave her gifts of thank you. Now, that's just the way it went. To this day, you cannot just visit Marie Laveau's grave site, or she's buried in St. Louis Cemetery number 1. But you can't just visit there without a tour guide. And that's because a guy went in. They said that they think that maybe he was mentally ill, and he painted her tomb Pepto-Bismol pink. Bad part about that was it was latex paint, and the bricks could not breathe that way. So the archdiocese, the Catholic archdiocese, had to go in and refurbish her grave. It cost thousands and thousands of dollars to do. And like I said, you just cannot walk into that cemetery because her grave site is so well visited. Over 200 years, and they still come. And they still request things from her. And they still leave gifts. Now, the house, the cottage that I told you about that she grew up in, of course, is no longer there. But, of course, the property is. So there was another cottage built there because I think the original burned down. It is now a museum, but people visit there also. And they come from far and near to get requests from Marie. And they also leave gifts there. Now, it's also written that the homeless comes by at night and they pick up on the gifts that were left from Marie. And I guess that's okay. Knowing the way Marie took care of her community, I'm sure it was okay. But let me tell you my experience with Madame Marie Laveau. Because you see, I do not believe in voodoo. I am not a believer. And I saw it written more than one place that Marie does not like it when you don't believe. Let's scratch and see what Marie gave us. She doesn't like it when you don't believe. Well, I don't believe. So the day that I went to get the video of her gravesite, went to get out of the car, and it was pouring. We got $10. It was pouring down rain, the biggest raindrops you could ever witness. So, of course, I couldn't get out of the car. I could not do the video. So I left. Now, I live across the river from New Orleans, and I don't go across the river that often. So I was a little taken back that I would have to go back and do the video. And I did. The next time I went back, guess what? I pulled up, parked in front of the cemetery, and the rain came down so heavily. It was just so unbelievable. Well, I left. We had other errands to take care of. So I left. We came back later that day, and I was able to get the video. Now, if the rains had come again, let me tell you, I would not have messed with Marie LAVEAU again. That is my story of Marie LAVEAU. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about her and some of New Orleans history. Look her up. Very, very interesting. I just got $10, $20 back from a $25 scratch. I appreciate your time and your attention. See you later.